We are recording.
Good day, everyone. I'm Tiffany Rothman at Field 90211 with my wonderful and amazing co host, Chris Sloan. Today, our topic is erotomania, the illusion of romance. Do you know that erotomania, also known as the Clarambo syndrome? A syndrome that was first described by the French psychiatrist Gatien Gaetan Gatian de Clarambo in 1921. Dr. de Clarambo first described and named the syndrome Eco-Passonel. De Clarambo first reviewed it in 1885 and case is present. Now, Chris, what do you think?
Well, I think a lot of people every day are creating their own romances in their head or fantasize about the false beliefs that another person is interested in them in a romantic way. I think it starts off probably with somebody that is lonely to begin with and then manifests people into their lives with the hope that that person is interested in them in a romantic way. It probably starts off first as a fantasy, but then it becomes so intertwined that it becomes delusional. And then they believe almost that people are interested in them romantically, sexually, physically. I believe that in the world we live in now, social media, Facebook, Instagram, people are meeting people electronically now through these social media platforms. They friend somebody, they send a couple messages back and forth, and all of a sudden they think this person's romantically interested in them. I think there's a lot of there's a lot of traps out there now, especially with social media, where I think this disorder has probably become full blown more than ever. What do you think?
Well, but we're talking about story of Adele Edge, Adele Hugo as a case study. This taken back in 1915. This is before anything. Maybe just later, before anything happened.
Well, it's obviously a psychological, as worded, perhaps hallucinations of what people think. So, yes, this has been going on for decades, probably hundreds of years, maybe thousands. I just think that the disorders are exploited now even greatly with social media
Yeah.
because you had to, before social media and the electronic computer age, you actually had to be in front of, you had to meet people somehow to somewhat think that they're interested in you. Like, oh, they looked at me a certain way. And that still goes on today. You know, you can go to the gym and you go to a fitness center and, everybody's working out and, you think somebody looked at you a certain way and you think, oh, maybe that person's interested in me. Right. So, that's been going on for a long time. I think that when I read this, I just think that not only has this been going on, but with social media now, you know, I think it's easier to fall into the traps.
Yes, but back then in 1915, Adele Hugo, the movie who played by Isabel Adjani, so very clearly that she fall for this lieutenant, this English lieutenant, who clearly is one like nothing to do with her. And back then, like this is 1915, what right do women have back then, and what's life offer for them? It's like very limited, and they feel like at least she's making her own mind and act independently. So way bigger scandal than any silly girl being controlled by a guy that living in her home. She might look at him as an infatuation, but she's a wealthy one, and the lieutenant is like nowhere near her level, but he would take her money. In the past, he did, and then she followed him. This involved a lot of stalking, like she followed him like all over the places. She even gone down to the Caribbean and follow him, and even stayed there for a few months with the local lady who felt sorry for her and took care of her. And the problem with her sister died when she was very young. Her older sister, who she adored supposedly, who got married and went on a boat, and she died from drowning. And after that, She be off, and she really deteriorated.
And do you think that's all linked from that disorder?
Yes, that is that's very, very typical. That is from that disorder. And the thing about her is that Adele herself is very talented. She's a writer, musician, and when she went when she went to the mental institutions, she wrote a letter to someone else, and she said something like, she didn't even want to get out of here, and she even write her own language. She's very creative, but she doesn't want anyone to know about it.
Well, I don't think erotomania is, I don't think it will discriminate. I think it affects all people,
Yeah,
whether you're intelligent, creative, well off.
yeah, oh yeah,
But I do believe that, my perception is I believe that it's going to hit people more that lack interaction with people in their lives. I really do. I think that if you're more lonely, meaning people do not embrace you, people do not approach you, it's more out to take over. I think if you're the type of person where people are all over you all the time, let's just say a celebrity or somebody that is well off that just people are attracted to, and
yeah.
you have no problem getting relationships, you're probably not gonna have erotomania.
No, no, and also, this is really strange. Usually, when a woman suffer from erotomania, they tend to fall for they tend to fall for the man in the higher social status than they are, like like bigger role at work or a celebrity. That's usually how it is. And they say women tend to suffer from it. Some feminists would get very offended, but you have to understand something. When men suffer for erotomania, they act out. When these women, they couldn't. They don't know how.
Well, now they do.
Now, yes, but you're talking about back then in 1915 or something like that. And it's difficult for them, especially in the 18th century. They go from their father chore to being their husband property. No one expects them to have interest outside of the roles of mothers and housekeeper, not to think independently of their closest male relative. And Adele herself, she might look for freedom in her quest for marriage. Sure, she could accept anyone, but maybe none of her pseudo is, excited her enough. Not like the lieutenant did. And that lieutenant was something else. And you haven't seen the movie yet, have you?
I have not.
Oh, it's very fascinating. It's very well done. It's directed by True Fall. And my favorite scene is when it cut back and forth. Like she even offered him a chance to keep seeing whoever he wants during their possible marriage. She followed him to this area, this place. I don't know, is this or the girlfriend's home or his home? And this is back in the early 19th. And she would like watch him with this woman, and it cutting back and forth. And it's not like she was angry. She wasn't. She had this kind of smile on her face with amusement. And usually, normal women, when you see a man, when you see the man that you love making it with another woman, you're not going to be too happy. You need to don't watch it, or you're not going to be happy at all. But she was okay with it. So, in another way, it's like being in the mental institution is also a calculated move for her to certain freedom. Like in her case, like she would have freedom to do her music and her artistic passion without being censored. Because when you're in a mental institution, no one pay attention to you, to your artworks. So maybe she suffered from it. Could be a way of seeking independence. However, that's like around 1915. Can we go back, take back to like 75 years later, at least 75 years later? Chris, can I talk about this? 75 years later, the situation. I was working temp job. This is probably after college. I mean, working temp job at this company's phone company. And I met this woman, and somebody told her that to come and help us with the job because we're temp and she was there before. And this was her job and she would do it wrong. And I would say, gee, this is strange. This is her job and she would do it wrong. And the boss was surprised too. And when I was saying it, another woman, she heard me. She said like, she's very strange. And she started telling me what she used to do, how she used to call up a manager from upstairs and talk to him and, not in a very appropriate way. And the man is married. But I didn't even know it was inappropriate. Like she called him all the time, and I would say something like, "Say, gee, when we go to work or something, we do call each other. Remember how you were in college when you want paperwork or something, you would call each other, or sometimes you just call people up just to talk, and it doesn't mean anything." And this woman told me, but she wasn't appropriate. And the man is married, and it took him a long time, and it took her a long time to stop. But at least she knows how to stop. I mean, she was strained. I admit to that. So maybe
And
she had.
so you knew her.
I knew her briefly. I mean, she was pleasant. She wasn't mean or anything. I just knew she was strange. I wasn't there for a long time because that's a temp job. I think I was there for like a month the most.
Did she seem like the type of person that's lonely, doesn't have a lot of people,
Yeah, yeah,
wanting to be with her?
yeah. She
Yeah,
was strange, and not too many people want to be with her.
right, and again, very common. The average person probably doesn't have a lot of people interested in them. I mean, everyday life is busy. Unless you have something that people want, people aren't gonna be as attracted to you as a person. So power, money, looks, right? Let's face it. I mean, the average person that will walk down the street, nobody's running after. But if you have a brand, a name, you have a lot of money,
Hmm.
status, looks, people are more out to want to talk to you. I mean, I just I look at real life every day. I go to the gym a lot. I study people at the gym, and it's interesting. The attractive women at the gym, the men are always trying to figure out how to talk to them. Hey, are you using this machine? Then the guy starts talking, trying to strike up a conversation, and I'll study it to see how long they get. And it's hit and miss. Sometimes, well, it's hit and miss. Sometimes the woman gives them only a few seconds and they're not interested. You could tell they just give them an answer to the question and they kind of walk away. Sometimes they'll engage in a little small chat, but you could tell the girl's not interested. And then a small percentage is the girl actually engaged in the conversation. I'm not saying she's interested in the guy, but is actually engaged in whatever conversation. But very rarely do I see women doing that to men.
Mm. I guess because the double standard still exists. You don't approach men, men's supposed to approach you, and something like that. And this is, I'm always fascinated with the situation, the story of Adele Edge, because she does not mind approaching that lieutenant. Like people feel that the research has feel that maybe she really want her independent because listen, she was beautiful. She's Victor Hugo's daughter. She's wealthy. A lot of men would want her. But like they say, a lot of men might not give her that kind of independence. And this is back into like the early 1900s.
Well, it's still again, it still goes on today. I'm sure there's women out there that probably have a lot going for them, but do have these delusions. I think on I think what you said earlier is they probably don't usually act out on it as much as men will act out on it. I think men are more aggressive that they're willing to act out on things rather than women will want to in the I'll call it in the shadows might follow somebody in a way, but never interact as much as a man will just approach a woman. So I guess this was a bit unique for the time for her. Um, and I could see where women would be delusional about somebody in the background, though, meaning they never interact with that person. And then men are going to be more out to want to get into that in front of that person and approach them, if that makes sense.
Yes. And also, and now the film we talk about that, I gave you the list. Thank you, dear. I don't know you see it or not, but it's called King of Comedy.
So you're talking about the 1982 dark comedy.
Yes, with Robert De Niro, Sandra Bernhard.
Yep, Sandra Bernhard, who's if you want to explain more of the story.
The story is what happened was he had his fun night shows, and someone who wanted to be in a want to be a stand up comic, and He couldn't do it anywhere. He couldn't get himself to go anywhere. So he would do his imaginary talk show in his mother basement. And when he met the actual talk shows, Langford, he convinced it will provide him his big break. But Langford wasn't interested in in him at all. So what he and another person who Marsha, yeah, his kidnapped psychic Marsha, who played by Sandra Bernhard, kidnapped him because she always had the heart for him. And since he kidnapped the actual talk show host, he would go up there and he said that I'm taking over for him. While he tied the guy up and have his sidekick Marsha take took care of him. And what happened was what she would do, she would like strip down to her underwear and crawling about around the table and tell him how they would be so good together and actually believing it. In the meantime, Rupert Perkin, the imaginary talk shows, would get up there and call himself like he'd rather be a king of comedy for the night and schmuck for a lifetime.
Yeah, you know, what's interesting is Sandra Bernhard is a real stand-up comedian.
And she was so funny. She was something. It was unbelievable. So what happened was he would sat there and he looked at her. He said, he agreed with her. He pretend to agree with her and asked her, "Can we just like untie me so we can be together?" And she's not, but she's not that bright, so she untied him. That's how he escaped. When he ran outside, she ran after him in her underwear.
She won a National Society of Film Critics Award for Best Supporting Actress for that film.
Yeah, she was very, very, very believable.
So there's an example of where a woman takes the aggressive approach.
Oh, she had help. She didn't do it alone. She's the sidekick of the guy who wanted to be the talk show host. Isn't that something, Chris? Erotomania is unknown, and they only have 15 cases every 100,000 cases. So the population who suffer from this mental illness is 0.02. So that's not very much.
It's not.
And the incident with the Clarambo syndrome, they call it the Clarambo syndrome, but after that doctor is a unknown but prevalent delusional disorder in the general population has been reported like 0.05 to 10% per year. So it's rarer than any other psychiatric diagnosis.
So erotomania is very, very rare.
Right, and more common in women than men. Male to female ratio 3-1. And it also can link to other mental health conditions such as schizophrenic, bipolar disorder, but it also can occur on its own. And if you don't take care of it, it's going to become schizophrenic. And bipolar disorder is more believable. Like you say, depression, isolations.
It's interesting. I don't see any commercials for a medication for erotomania.
No, it's very rare. See, most people don't even believe it. They think it's a joke.
So what kind of commercials would there be out there then? Like, how they have commercials for bipolar disorder? Possible side effects, internal bleeding, heart attack, death. What kind of, and then they have a commercial that is a satire around the disease, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the commercial would look like for erotomania?
Oh boy. I mean, I don't think it's also politically correct to present it that way. They probably should have like delusional disorder. Like they say, if you have delusional disorder, if you see things, maybe like they probably would do it for bipolar, depressive bipolar disorder. That's how they probably would do it.
Yeah, but it's not for that though. It's for erotomania. So like, would they show a commercial of a girl like kind of sneaking around the corner, looking at a guy in the distance? And if you suffer from erotomania, notice that you're stalking somebody, following them, fantasizing about them. Because if I have erotomania and I don't know it, I got to see that commercial to realize, oh my God,
Yeah,
I need that drug.
You are a man. If you have erotomania, you might be aggressive about it. Like they say, it's more on women than men because, like I say, men, they act out. They become violent.
So then I need to see that commercial to understand what I have. This is, all these commercials tell you that if you suffer from this, then you need this drug, right? So what would the commercial be like then for Erotomania? I don't see any.
I don't even think they have medication for it because it's too rare.
So what you're saying is that whoever creates a medication for this, whatever pharmaceutical company, they could have the next big drug
Yes, but
because
not too many people suffer from it, and they wouldn't make a lot of money, so they wouldn't bother.
you
So
think
yeah,
worldwide though they still wouldn't make money?
no, pharmaceutical, they want to make billions, and this psychiatric symptom is too rare. It's like 0.02, like less than 10%. They're not going to do that. Why bipolar disorder, depression is much larger. That's like
Okay.
practically.
Well, I still would like to see the commercial.
So why don't you and I create?
We can do that. Where a woman stalks a guy and fantasizes about him and then follows him to his house and looks at his bedroom window and then she pictures herself in bed with him.
Yes, but
What
you
would
know
be
what?
the side effects of this medication?
Oh, I
There's
know.
always side effects. So like a lot of these meds, like you're going to get cured for bipolar disorder, but then something's going to get you from the medication.
What if they have erotomania medication to cure erotomania, but the person become aggressive and suffer from depression and they become angry?
Well, then you take another one of that pharmaceutical company's drugs. They have another commercial saying if you're currently on a Rotomania pill and you're suffering from aggression and anger and depression, then you also need this drug. They just kind of tag team it. And you probably play the commercials back to back. Oh my gosh, I have erotomania. Oh my gosh, when I take this pill for erotomania, I'm going to get this. Now I got to get both of them. I got to take both pills. That's where the money comes from.
And also, with people with erotomania, they can be very comical too with their explanations. Like when they interview crazy women with erotomania, and they would say to her like, "But he's married. He's not interested in you. Oh, he's not happily married. He's going to leave his wife. What make you think he's going to leave his wife? He's been depressed. He's been wearing brown."
If so, when you're wearing brown, it means you're depressed.
No, but they always come up with something. They always have an answer. Like if somebody suffer from erotomania, for you, for instance, and they do all kind of crazy thing or something, and then you interview, not you, somebody like me interview them, say, but he's happily married. He's the, oh no, he's not happily married. Otherwise, I said, what make you say so? He keep his hair short or something really ridiculous. They always have an answer to it, to everything, and they convince themselves that that person will be theirs. And when somebody asks me, well, what if the person just say, okay, you suffer from erotomania, take me, I'm all yours. But I say usually the person is really crazy and they're really disgusting, like they don't shower for weeks or something like that, and they're not at all attractive.
Pretty interesting.
Because the thing is, like when I did my paper on erotomania, somebody was saying that how come nobody ever suffered from erotomania for me? I said, you don't know about it. And they would say, anybody suffer from erotomania, just send it this way. I said, I don't think
I
you work.
think I think there are a lot of people suffering from it. It's not being diagnosed. It's more common than not.
Yes,
Because tell me a human being that doesn't fantasize about being with another human being.
I know, but that fantasy is different. Acting out is not a story because on
Okay, so let me ask you this
follow
question.
the person like they would stalk this man, follow him everywhere. Stalking is involving this a lot. And then, in King of Comedy, those who really like go after the show host, the talk show host, really, really study him where he is and able to kidnap him.
But now people stalk people through social media because we're in a different world.
Yeah, well,
So my
that's
point is I think there's a lot of people stalking people now and they never know it because of social media. They go and look at all their pictures.
yeah,
They're
well,
always watching them.
okay, but social media, you choose what you put on. Like you want to advertise your latest movie, your talk show, whatsoever. You choose it. You put on what you choose. You don't advertise your address. You don't advertise your personal life. You don't advertise single but looking. I mean, hardly.
No, but I hear a lot of stories of people getting instant messages and DMs all the time where people are asking them for their information.
You stalk it. You block it.
So I
You're dangerous. You can block them. You have the right
Well,
What?
you can, but my point is the people are attempting to act out. They're attempting to act out. Now with social media, because you're meeting people now electronically, you don't know where they live. You could probably still kind of find out.
Yeah,
So you're limited to how you can act out, but I think the point is people are acting out a lot on, trying to get a hold of people through emails and direct messages. Now, back in the day, you would follow them somewhere, but now you're following people internationally. If I fall in love with somebody on social media and start stalking them and they're in Italy, I can't just go to Italy, right? So
right.
the
But you,
world has expanded on this where the people if I'm an individual with erotomania, the chances of somebody that I'm wanting to act out on is not in my local neighborhood anymore. I can't just physically walk down the street and see them, but I could still stalk them and they may not even know it. So I think it's more common than people think. And actually, I have friends that tell me that, they're more female friends that tell me they have men sending them pictures of themselves naked all the time,
geez.
right?
So
So,
they can block.
yeah, they could block, but the point is it already started. The aggression has already started. They've acted out on these fantasies by sending pictures, right? Now 50 years ago you would send it in the mail, a picture of yourself in the mail. Now they do it electronically and it's a lot quicker and faster. And by the way, Tiffany, I could stalk more people on social media than I could ever in traditional life. So I think there's so much erotomania out there people don't even realize.
Oh
But I
my.
just go by the stories I hear from people that I know that are people are acting out and trying to get to them, but because of social media, it's limited due to geographic. They're not geographically close to them, at least in most cases. If they were, I bet you they would find out somehow where they lived, and they probably would approach them.
Well, that's not too legal because you know how it is now. You go in someone garage or sidewalk, they call the police, and then that's it. It's not legal to go to someone's property, right?
No, but I think if you suspect somebody's stalking you and every night they're parking in front of your house, that's a different story, you know.
Hmm.
Again, we're fragmented as a world. So because of like the electronic world we live in, we're still doing things we did 50, 80 years ago. We're just doing it in a different way. But now, like I said, with technology, I could stalk somebody in every country if I wanted to and still
Hmm.
try to follow these fantasies. And a lot of people now live their fantasies electronically anyway. They're not necessarily interested in being face to face with people. We're in a society now of distance and separation, hence why, since the pandemic, people are more into working remote and more doing things over platforms like this or Zoom or whatever. So even people are brought up and born now in a society where you don't interact in person as much. It's done this way, but it doesn't mean I still can't act out on erotomania. That's just my commentary.
Yes, yeah, but I think erotomania, that you really want to be near that person, like physically.
Well, you do, but let's face it, if you're born of the last 20 years, 15, 18 years, you're born with technology, you're Generation Z. Generation Z was born with smartphones where you don't meet people, you just message them every day, all day at home, right? So the new generation of erotomania will not be, it'll be accepted that you'll never meet these people. You'll try to, hey, let's meet up. And there are cases of that, I'm sure that happen every day. But I think for the most part, the Gen Zers now that will grow into erotomania are used to never even being in front of people to begin with because it's all done through social media. It's going to be a different form of erotomania.
So complicated. And also, do you know anyone? Now look back. Do you think you know anyone who suffer from erotomania with each other in your within your community at your classroom? Because when I did this, someone told me, "Oh, so and so was suffer from erotomania with so and so last summer."
Most of the erotomania that I've experienced was where they already knew each other, maybe had some kind of a relationship and it ended quickly, or they just kind of knew each other well. And then one person wanted to go further than just being friends.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
don't know if I've ever truly experienced within my social network where somebody didn't know another person but still acted out. That I don't think I've ever experienced.
Well, story of Adele Edge, she did have an affair with the lieutenant. But in King of Comedy, the Sandra Bernhard character never had an affair with the talk show host. So sometimes they already had relations. And
I
like you
think
said,
that would make sense. I think there's people that already know them and people that don't. The people that I believe that act out on people they don't know are usually again people of a higher stature or higher status in our society. So
yeah.
they're less um addressable, so that probably creates even more urgency for that person to want to be with them because they're not easily accessible.
Mm.
So then there's that human nature of wanting something you can't even touch, see, or smell because when a person of a certain stature is in existence, you have a hard time getting to them. Well, if you already have eroticism towards them and they're hard to reach, I think that's the human instinct of, wow, I want them even more now. Because if it's your next door neighbor that you could see every day, even if they had a high statute, I don't know if you would still have the tendencies of somebody that's harder to approach.
Yes, maybe, but individual with erotomania, they experience difficulties with their relationships, like employment and overall mental health being, and due to their obsessive nature. But and also there's treatment for it. It involves psychotherapy, and they said medication, but they didn't know what kind. So you and I should do a commercial on that, probably for
Well,
the.
yeah, we need to get a hold of some pharmaceutical company and say, hey, erotomania is a huge market. We could make billions.
I don't know about billion because not too many people suffer from it,
I think they do. I think we just don't know it.
and they're not going to admit to it. They're going to say nothing wrong with me. So anyway, so that's all it is for now. Can we wrap for this? And can I do my incense offering?
Absolutely.
Okay, now I do incense offering. And now this is funny how erotomania. You know what? We could have a party on movie party on this topic. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. We could.
Good night. Let's have a red carpet party based on all the film of erotomania. The incense.
We're warding off all the erotomania in the world,
That's right.
chasing it away.
Welcome them. The fragrance of this incense invites the awakened mind to be present with us now. The fragrance of this incense fills our practice center, protects and guards our mind from all wrong thinking. Next, I'm
Is
going
it
to pick.
gone?
I'm sorry?
Is it gone? Are we free of erotomania?
I hope so. I'm going to pick out a card. Okay. Look, card number 5. Dance of Butterfly Queen. A pure heart and sincere love attracts divine grace. With the grace of Kuan Yi, Butterfly Queen, that which was impossible. How are we going to heal with this, Chris?
How are we going to heal?
Yeah, healing, yep. The impossible become possible, yep. With the grace of Kuan Yi, Butterfly Queen, which was impossible become possible. And then healing dance of the Butterfly Queens. Allow yourself to find a place where you can observe something that is beautiful and peaceful and say, I now gratefully receive the divine grace and unconditional love of Kuan Yi. Butterfly Queens, thank you for the blessing of grace that now dance through me. May this grace transform my heart and my life into an expression of pure love and higher consciousness. Now, this will reduce all suffering from erotomania with higher consciousness, right?
Absolutely.
Hmm. So now you want to read some insults before insult from the era before the four-letter word.
Okay. Let's see if we could read some insults here. I was actually looking at them before and I thought they were pretty interesting. Let me pull them up. Where did they go here? Hold on. Why don't you lead off because I'm trying to pull it up and I had it up. I can't find the monitor that I have it up on.
Okay. How about this? I'm enclosing 2 tickets to the first night of my new play. Tell a friend if you have one. George Bernard Shaw to Winston Churchill. And then cannot possibly attend first night. Will attend second if there is one. Winston Churchill in response. And then next, I feel so miserable without you. It's almost like having you here. Stephen Bishop. He is a self-made man and worships his creator, John Bright.
How about this one? His mother should have thrown him away and kept the stork. Mae West.
That sounds like something Mae West would do.
Why do you sit there looking like an envelope without any address on it? Mark Twain. Ooh, I like that one. Here's an interesting one. He has Van Gogh's ear for music. Billy Wilder. And I've had a perfectly wonderful evening, but I'm afraid this wasn't it. Groucho Marx.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Chris.
Well, Tiffany, thank you. Glad to be back and getting through some illnesses. And the good news is none of my illnesses had erotomania involved. So that's good.
Okay, now we go to ending this show. I'm Tiffany Rothman and with my wonderful and amazing co-host, Chris Sloan. And I thank you so much for attending.